That's cool. I mean, look, to be clear, in the life of Y2K, it's not all bad news. In fact, I will get to some good news now. Very good news for me. That would leave me cackling and howling and such. And that is, yesterday was Mayday. Very happy Mayday. It is a day of celebration for the workers, for the strikers. And in France, things have been escalating. Boy, have they ever been escalating. So there's, you know, this is from a random Twitter account, but, you know, it has video of what all has been happening and descriptions, of course. It's Mayday 2023, and cops are being set on fire in Paris. I am not making this up. Here's some video. You see that? Let me rewind. I don't know if people being on fire is TOS, but I hope not, because I'm assuming this guy wasn't hurt too badly. Or if he was, I also don't care that much because he's a cop. You know, sucks for him, but he knows what he signed up for. Yeah, the protesters aren't exactly taking it. You know, they're not taking it lying down. Deadpool has just joined the side of the people against the police. What fun. They even did the Deadpool bit where he has like the Captain America style shield but with Deadpool's face on it. This is a bit that Deadpool does sometimes in the comics. Very cool. McDonald's has fallen. This is funny. So there's apparently, yes. So this is a significant development. The strikers and protesters in France are now engaging in acts of property destruction, not of each other's property. You can notice there are cars parked on the side of the road that are completely fine. But the ice machine was still broken? True, and it will always remain broken. But you'll notice that if I ever get a glimpse of like somebody's car parked somewhere in the video, see, there's a couple, you can see a couple here. The cars are undamaged. Protesters are not damaging each other's property. They are damaging storefronts. They're damaging business owners' property. Ah, they broke all the screens. An act of violence, this is. Senseless, it is not. This is solidarity, is what this is. Unfortunately, the protesters themselves have also been subject to violence. A demonstrator's hand has been torn off in Nantes. Une main arrachée devant la préfecture à Nantes. 1er mai. That's the ambulance. Obviously, you know, I'll have to take this person's word for it. I'm pretty sure even if we could see, I wouldn't be able to show it because that's terms of service, gore, and such. A government building, l'Hôtel du Département, is set ablaze in Nantes, France. So, yes, classic, the anarchist A. Protesters setting fire to government buildings that are presumably either complicit or perceived as complicit in Macron's agenda of liberalization of the economy. Riot police are on fire in Paris as workers around the world celebrate May Day. Yeah, okay, yeah, they're putting out their comrade. Jeez, that even looked... Okay. Putting out the fire looked oddly violent. I know that's kind of like weird thing to fixate on. Also, of course, the cops... You'll notice that all the cops are wearing... full riot gear, and these military, proto-military looking helmets, face shields, riot shields, batons. Thankfully, they don't have guns. But as we will see in a moment, they have something else. They do have tear gas. Cops have been using tear gas in France, as they have in the past. Several riot cops have been knocked unconscious by a hail of rocks and bottles hurled by the crowd. So this guy, presumably this guy's been knocked unconscious. They formed a semicircle or whatever around him. I wonder, are we gonna see anything thrown here, or is it just okay? They're carrying him off. Okay, so he's no longer unconscious. Great, good. So, if you're gonna get wet, may as well go swimming. This is, I don't think this is literally going swimming here. It might, I mean, they're bringing giant rubber ducks, but I think the phrasing here is more just equivalent to in for a penny, in for a pound. Like, you may as well commit to the bit. These people all have these garbage bins. You remember part of the strike was the piling up of garbage in France, in Paris in particular, and now they have giant rubber duck floats, presumably to, I don't know, obstruct roadways or something. Or maybe they are literally going swimming. That would be cool. Heavy clashes erupting between the crowd and police. You see here, I saw a flare pop earlier. People are throwing shit. It's kind of hard to see, but over in the background here, there are some protesters getting handsy with, like, police and protesters are getting handsy with each other. They're starting to come to blows, kind of. Cops are retreating, interestingly enough. And I have a couple thoughts on this for after I'm done with this thread. Fireworks versus police. Okay, so the protesters are throwing fireworks. I figured the protesters decided that they wanted to have an answer for the tear gas and stuff that the police were throwing at them. Affrontement sur la place de la Nation, les forces de l'ordre reçoivent de nombreux tirs de feux d'artifice. The forces of order are receiving numerous shots of fireworks. I don't know, this is more than likely a centrist or center-right news outlet, but French is my second language, I can't be sure of the framing here. Some more images of the protest and property damage. Again, notice that there are some cars parked here, which are not, or no, never mind, they're driving. The cars driving are not impeded or damaged, which isn't as much of an indicator, but I guess I'll run back to the image earlier, or the pause frame earlier with the cars that have been parked and no damage had come to them, showing that the protesters are very much not like rabid animals turning on each other, as the sort of establishment political narrative would dictate in situations like this. And, of course, beautiful. We have a protester who threw a garbage can at the police. Very nice. Police having a bad day. This guy's almost tripping over the bench there. Oh, jeez. Don't fall over, dude. People are throwing shit. Oh, man. Somebody threw a bottle of water. That's a full bottle of water, too. Looks like a little plank of wood. And again, the cops are retreating. Getting dragged out of Place de la Nation by their feet. Paris, un CRS est encore blessé. A cop is injured again. Violent fire in the Place de la Nation. Let's see what's happening here. What are the cops doing here? Oh, I think I remember this. Oh, jeez. What are they doing? Dragging him by... You have enough of them there to carry him. Why don't you just carry him? Jeez. Okay, well. Police attempted to... Okay, this is what I was alluding to earlier when I said that the police didn't have guns, but they did have something else. Police attempted to throw an explosive grenade at demonstrators, but it got snagged on their own man and detonated in their face. Yep. You can... Look. You see that? You can see him throw the grenade. This guy tried to throw an honest-to-God grenade at the protesters. It's not like an especially big or powerful grenade, but a grenade nonetheless. And he accidentally hit one of his own guys, and it landed right in front of him. Truly the best and the brightest. Yeah. Luxury boutiques. Here's more of that property destruction I was mentioning. Luxury boutiques are being looted in Paris today as crowds celebrate Mayday. Like I said, these attacks on property are not protesters defacing the cars and other possessions of random people. They are deliberately targeting the bourgeois property. This is a luxury store, you know, kind of like a Gucci or something in the United States. You know, very expensive shit being sold here. Anybody in the crowd here, most likely not earning that much money, you probably wouldn't see any of them in this store. It's a distinctor of class. Small group of riot cops got isolated and mercilessly pummeled with projectiles at Place de la Nation. In case you're wondering why things are so hot. Looted goods are tossed out of a supermarket into the crowd. And of course, we have some complimentary Robin Hood style stuff. They're going in and looting the supermarket, which is privately owned. Another, targeted attack on upper class property rights. And the food is being, well, very impromptu, distributed for free. We can only hope that some of this is still going to people who cannot afford it. I seem to remember a little while ago reading some articles about the issue of food deserts in certain towns and cities in France. Yes, cars burn in the streets of Lyon as crowds celebrate Mayday 2023. This is a little bit of less coordinated property destruction. But if I'm right here, yeah, this is a BMW, so this is a pretty expensive car. Could also be an attempt at targeted property destruction. In fact, it probably is. Everything that symbolizes capitalism is being trashed, writes a journalist in Lyon. Actu Lyon. Tout ce qui symbolise le capitalisme est cramé, indique notre journaliste sur place. Same quote, indicates our journalist on site. De nombreuses enseignes, banques, assurances et même supermarchés sont la cible des casseurs. Numerous signatories? I don't exactly know what this word translates to in English. Banks, insurance buildings, and even supermarkets are the target of the these protesters, rioters, etc. Oh, what, really? Because capitalism, caps lock is forbidden? No, capitalism is when you're only allowed to use caps lock. Under socialism, caps lock is not allowed. You will be sentenced to death for caps locking in socialism. The revolution will not spare you for using the caps lock button. I am sorry, comrade. Anyways. Payback is a bitch. Yeah. It's important to remember, I am tempted to have some sympathy for, whoever owns this car. That's got to suck for them, unironically. But then also, it's tempting to also have sympathy for the police because they're getting beat up. For lack of more nuanced ways to put it, they are getting beat up. But there are three caveats, essential caveats that I want to introduce here. Number one, They signed up for this. The police signed up knowing that they were going to have to go into a situation like this, and they're heavily armored. They were prepared for this to happen. This is their job, and they're doing their job. So that's the first thing. Number two, they brought this in part on themselves. The police, I believe, either lobbied the French government or were otherwise given preferential treatment by the French government to be largely written out of the liberalization reforms. The police and the military, as I recently learned, are exempt from this new raise on the retirement age. And then number three, police are what are known in Marxian terms as class traders. Police earn a salary. They are, in every sense, that you could really measure in terms of like pure economics, they are working class. They're not fabulously wealthy or anything like that. They have to go to work, clock in, clock out, do their hours, whatever, and they don't get paid that much. In many countries, they don't get paid especially large amounts of money. But what their job entails is to act on behalf of the very wealthy property owners. They are not here to FBI open up. Yeah, any minute now. The police are not here for public safety. In fact, the public would be safe if the police were not here. As we saw, there was only very minimal examples of the protesters doing anything that could have been a threat to regular civilians. Because remember, the protesters are the regular civilians. In fact, there's evidence to the contrary. The protesters here are sort of gathering around this injured individual, presumably to prevent other people from getting into there. No, what the cops are there to do is to stop protesters from damaging storefronts of owned by like business owners and stuff like that. They are there to protect the property rights of the people who would be benefited by Macron's agenda. And in fact, they're there mostly on behalf of Macron. They are part of the executive branch of government. Macron is the chief executive. He's the president. They are doing his work. Essentially, each and every police officer is a proxy for Emmanuel Macron and his agenda, his legislative agenda. So, it does suck. On an individual level, it's like, I gotta go to work and get beat up again. But at the same time, these guys are complicit in the underlying causes of the civil unrest. They are not here to solve the problem. They are here to exacerbate it and then put a lid on it. But that brings me to the more broad-ranging analysis that I have of the situation. This will be a video segment, I'm relatively sure. And that is that this is the Ninth French Revolution. I've kind of explained why I think that is before, but if I go to the wiki page for a revolutionary situation, the requirements. Number one, it is impossible for the ruling classes to maintain their rule without any change when there is a crisis in one form or another among the upper classes. A crisis in the policy of the ruling class, leading to a fissure through which the discontent and indignation of the oppressed classes burst forth. We are certainly seeing that. This hasn't received as much news coverage, especially not abroad, but the legislature is very divided on the issue of the réforme des retraites, the retirement age reform. Largely, the Social Democrats and Socialists, those politicians, are mostly against it, and with the exception of a couple select dissenting voices, most of the right wing is in favor of it. There is a divide in government. And this has drawn out, well, the discontent and indignation of the oppressed classes. We're seeing civil unrest. Number two, when the suffering and want of the oppressed classes have grown more acute than usual. For the past 30 years, there has been a project of neoliberalization in France, much the same as many other countries, but there's a larger degree of class consciousness in France. The social safety nets that have been chipped away in France were previously in a state of not having been chipped away yet. And now we are seeing strictly speaking, a degree of suffering that is more acute than usual. People having to work longer hours, getting less benefits, housing and such, and transportation being more expensive. Those are a couple of the things targeted by neoliberalization. the retirement reform is the straw that broke the camel's back in this instance. And then number 3, when as a consequence of the above causes, there is a considerable increase in the activity of the masses who uncomplainingly allowed themselves to be robbed in quote-unquote peacetime, but in turbulent times are drawn both by all the circumstances of the crisis and by the upper classes themselves into independent historical action. That's a mouthful, but basically it's when there seems to be an uprising at hand. And it does seem that way. The CGT, the unions in France, have expected record turnout for these protests, and it seems like that is what happened. And this is considerably more militant than the strikes that occur regularly during peacetime, supposedly. And, indeed, we are in turbulent times. Things are escalating. So it seems that all 3, even though it's I'm sort of giving myself a little bit of leeway here, it seems like there is a revolutionary situation in France, and it seems like what is happening right now is tantamount to a 9th French Revolution. And as I have said before, but I will reiterate now, I have some revolutionary optimism for what this could mean. The degree of class consciousness that's been exhibited in France by way of having strong unions indicates that people want to, at the very least, have an extraordinarily strong welfare state to be able to provide for everybody, not just to have the negative freedom from persecution, but to have the positive freedom to certain aspects of life as accommodated by public services. This is certainly a scenario with very limited precedent to go on, and it is exciting to think that there could be something significantly better than a neoliberal government that could come out of this. So anyways, we support our French comrades, solidarity to the workers, and for anybody who might be curious as to why I did not condemn the violence going on, when media outlets say that the protesters are being violent, that the protesters need to stop being so violent and instigating things, what they mean is the protesters need to stop breaking things that are owned by business owners, and they need to stop hitting back when the police start hitting them. The violence in question is never between protesters, people, civilians beating up each other. It is almost always between the protesters and the strike breakers or the police. Cut the segment.